Hello and welcome to this Arise News special program from the 67th edition of the Cannes Film Festival right here on the French Riviera. It's been a marathon, an endurance race for the 30,000 industry bigwigs, celebrities and of course us journalists too. We've been to the screenings, we've been to the parties and we've dug deeper to give you inside access to the film event of the year. There's been upsets, red carpet slip-ups, controversies and of course films. Lots of films.
And of course we'll have reviews of all those films, from the morbid and bizarre to the fashionable and fantastic. From Bollywood to Hollywood, we'll tell you what to see and what to miss. Over the next half hour, we'll tell you about the fun, glamour and business and how they all combine here to make Cannes Film Festival movies Mecca. The French Riviera, it's long been the playground of the rich and famous. But this week, the usually serene seaside town became a hive of activity. 30,000 movie insiders have descended on the world's glitziest film festival. This year, Cannes celebrates its 67th year. It's long attracted Hollywood's finest, from 1950s screen sirens to modern-day movie stars. Directors and producers are all vying for the top award, the much-coveted Palme d'Or. In the running are Ryan Gosling, Tommy Lee Jones and David Cronenberg, amongst others. And there's been no shortage of red carpet glamour. Nicole Kidman, Julianne Moore, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively turned out in force. Well, Cannes isn't just a festival for Americans and Europeans. Every year there are producers, actors and directors coming from around the world, including the African continent, the Middle East, India and China, and they're all hoping to catch a slice of the action over here. But it's not all about cinema. Behind the scenes, the party scene is as much a part of the festivities as the films. Sundance and Berlin may be indie films' natural homes, but it's Cannes that takes the crown as the grande dame of them all.
Joan Collins is in town to promote her upcoming film, The Time of Their Lives. I was lucky enough to have an interview with her, but have a look at what happened when I introduced her as femme fatale, author and, oops, grandmother. I'm lucky enough to be joined by actress, writer, femme fatale, also grandmother, looking absolutely stunning. Joan, thank you very much.
The grandmother. Yeah, I really want to be known for that.
Well,
yeah.
can I say that you look beautiful regardless?
Thank you.
First of all, you tweeted about the Vanity Fair party. What was it like?
It was as usual with Vanity Fair, amazing, very interesting people and great food, and it's always nice to pop in here and get a little bit of the atmosphere and then pop out again.
And how many times have you actually been to the Cannes Film Festival?
Probably around 10 altogether. I haven't been for a long time. Last time I came here was for the movie I did with Steven Berkoff called Decadence.
And I mean, you love it, obviously.
I get if I have something to talk about.
Absolutely.
I would never come if I didn't. So I'm, here basically to talk about the movie that I'm going to start in August called The Time of Their Lives, which I'm very excited about.
I've heard it's crossed between a sort of a Thelma and Louise style film. Can you give us any more about the script? Or
Well, not really, no. It's two women who are total opposites who get together and they go off on a road trip. And it's very funny and it's very comical. And it was written by and directed by Roger Goldby, who is an Academy Award nominee. So
lots of new projects going on. Great to hear about that one, but I also know you've got a one-woman show. You've already done a tour, and you've got more coming up. What can you tell us about that?
Well, my one-woman show is something that I've been doing now for 8 years, and it's me standing on the stage just talking about my life, illustrated with a lot of photographs and a movie film and clips from Dynasty. And I'm doing it next in Las Vegas, but that won't be until after Thanksgiving because I have the movie to do.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Yves Saint Laurent is one of the 20th century's most celebrated fashion houses. His legacy as a daring and creative designer live on in France and across the world. And this year at Cannes, his life and work was brought to the big screen in a bold and controversial way. During his prime, Yves Saint Laurent was hailed as a visionary and a genius. He was best known for his sleek, elegant and risque designs, a true reflection of the swinging 60s. But what gave Saint Laurent that extra edge was his French-Algerian background and frequent stays in Marrakesh. He often tapped into that culture for inspiration. In fact, he was one of the first designers to use black and Arab models in his shows. But behind the polished facade was a conflicted person, and it's this inner turmoil that's attracted directors and writers to his life. This year at Cannes, the designer's highs and lows have been brought to the big screen. Simply entitled Saint Laurent, the film details his creative flair, sensitive personality, drug abuse, and sexual liberation. While the worlds of film and fashion really do collide here at Cannes, besides the outfits actors wear to get into character, there's the endless parade of photo calls and press junkets. Nicole Kidman stunned on opening night with this Armani privé gown. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds also won praise for their monochrome combo. But even the best laid plans can go wrong, as America Ferrera realized when this prankster decided to get a closer look. And it isn't just the celebrities under scrutiny. Cannes is full of beautiful people, on the beach, in the cafes, and even on the way to the cinema.
In its entire history, Cannes has only awarded one woman the Palme d'Or. They're the center of attention on the red carpet, but behind the camera, it's a different story. Perhaps Cannes has a flaw in its gender script. The attention of the world's media is firmly focused on the leading ladies at Cannes. But whilst the paparazzi's lens zooms in on the women and their style, little attention is paid to the women behind the camera. In 1993, at just 28 years old, Jane Campion won the Palme d'Or for her film The Piano.
I'm not going to call him Papa. I'm not going to call him anything.
She was the first woman in history to win the award, and as it stands, the last. Over 20 years later, Campion is head of the prize jury at the 67th Cannes Film Festival. And she has something to say about sexism in the biz.
It does feel very undemocratic, and women do notice, you know. Time and time again, we don't get our share of representation. You know, excuse me, gentlemen, but, you know, the guys do seem to eat all the cake.
This year, women dominate the grand prize jury, 5 females to 4 men. So perhaps unsurprisingly, there's 15 female directors in the competition across all categories. A far cry from 2010 and 2012, when no women were in competition at all. Despite this, Jane says she has no hard feelings towards her male counterparts.
It's not that I resent the male filmmakers. I love all of them, but there is something that women are thinking and doing that we don't get to know enough about. And it's always a surprise for the world when a women filmmaker does come out and you get a more feminine vision.
Gael Garcia Bernal, Willem Dafoe and Sofia Coppola are some of the luminaries in the judging panel. But film buffs and industry insiders will have to wait until May 24th to see if one of film's leading ladies will take away the industry's top prize, the much coveted Palme d'Or.
Still to come, I found out how Bollywood is taking Cannes Film Festival by storm. Why Hollywood and Europe are looking to tap into the emerging markets in Africa and Asia. And we look at the rules and regs of Cannes' red carpet. But first, away from all the hype and glamour, a new movement is taking hold to help level the global filmmaking field for ethnic filmmakers. Jason Mansoret has more.
The Cannes Film Festival began in the 1940s. Back then, it was a Eurocentric event with the French dominating the prize draw. By the 1970s, the festival gained a more international flavour and American films started taking the top prize. Last year, a Tunisian-French director, Abdelatif Kechiche, took home the Palme d'Or for his controversial love story, blue is the warmest colour. This year, head of the prize jury, Jane Campion, said the lack of female directors screening their work is undemocratic. But now a spotlight is being shone on a less talked about issue. Away from the famous corset, the flashing bulbs of the red carpet and the iconic steps leading to the Palais, diversity is getting a voice at Cannes, whether the festival likes it or not. Since 2010, Beyond Borders, Diversity in Cannes, has tried to promote the sometimes overlooked communities, searching for and promoting talent from all corners of the world.
It's not as diverse as one would think. I think they find their diverse talent and they recycle it. They use the same people on the jury, they select some of the same films.
Separate to the main Cannes Film Festival, the event has its own short films and awards ceremony too. But it's not just about promoting diversity, it's about providing tools.
I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm not providing skills, but I'm providing knowledge. In the States, I do a pre-Cannes information session, and I tell people about the festival, from the accreditation process to the programs that they have. They have an atelier program, a residence program.
Africa's presence at Cannes has grown over time, and this year Timbuktu by Mauritanian director Abderrahmane Sissoko might just walk away with the much coveted Palme d'Or.
A common sight here at Cannes is the journalists rushing around town to get to all the different screenings, and I'm joined by the presenter of Arise On Screen, the amazing film critic Mike Sargent.
Thank you very much.
So Mike, we've been to 2 screenings together. Let's start with the one we saw last night, which is David Cronenberg's
Map of the Stars.
Yes.
Map to the Stars.
Map to the Stars.
You know, I liked it a lot. I thought what's interesting is David Cronenberg always does weird, cerebral,
Very
existential, odd films. And I really like this film because for a while, you forget it's a David Cronenberg film. And as you're watching it, then by sometime in the third act, it just gets really weird, and it gets progressively weirder. And then you're like, oh, that's right, it's a David Cronenberg film.
Could be David Lynch, though.
It was
has
Lynchian,
elements
yes,
of,
it was definitely.
Twin Peaks.
Yes, it did. But it reminded me more towards the end of Dead Ringers. Did you see that film?
I've missed that one, sadly, but I've
you get
seen
to
his
see it.
recent one, Cosmopolis, which I thought was appalling and very dull, and I almost walked out.
I didn't think it was appalling, but I have to say I was unmoved. I thought, you know, sometimes having a film that's emotionally inert, it works, and it works for the story, but in this case it didn't. This film I thought was very strong in terms of it had very strong characters, very strong characterizations.
Yeah, I thought Julianne Moore was phenomenal.
Julianne
but in
Moore
case
was
people
great.
don't know what exactly we're talking about, let's summarize the film. So it's more Hollyweird than Hollywood, you know.
Definitely.
It's sort of a dark satire of Hollywood's neuroses and narcissism, really, isn't it?
And incest.
A lot of incest.
A lot of incest, and it was weird because it's almost as if incest causes certain psychological debilitations, and so they explored that. And there's not just the psychological, there's the emotional. These people had a lot of guilt about what they had done, so they were living lives that were basically lies, and it doesn't end well.
They're very self-absorbed.
I'd say
because of
so.
the nature of their work.
I'd say so.
Well, let's talk about the cast. So Julianne Moore, sort of standout performance, really.
Yes.
And then we had Mia Wasikowska.
Mia Wasikowska, who I thought did a great performance.
Yes, sort of unreadable. I was surprised by the turn her character took.
Yes.
Will not give it away. Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson, who I thought was solid.
Fairly mute.
Solid, but again, not much charisma.
It could have been anyone else, really. It didn't have to be him.
That's what I felt. But I did think John Cusack did better work
yes,
here.
it's nice to see him return.
It was
I
good
think
to
he's
see
on,
him
on top form.
because for a while I'd seen John Cusack in a few films, and it always seemed like he was acting. And here, I forgot he was a character. I bought it. I bought him. I bought his performance.
And he's playing a kind of lifestyle coach, and he has that voice, and you sort of almost buy into what he's selling.
Oh, definitely. And he kind of buys it. Like, you can see that he has to sell himself as much as he does his people. But I thought the film actually, it worked on a lot of levels. The ending, I think, will leave some people wondering, like, what just happened?
Turning their heads away. It gets a little bit gruesome.
It definitely gets gruesome. But, you know, it's not a David Cronenberg film unless the word flesh is used several times. Because at certain points, people just say something to the flesh, and you're like, right, David Cronenberg.
And it has to divide audiences. I don't think he'd go for something with a general
No,
consensus.
no,
he has
he
to put you
divides-
in 2 camps.
Yeah. either you
Hate it
hated
or
it
love it.
or you love it. Exactly. I agree with that 100%. Well, the other movie was Foxcatcher. Now, Foxcatcher I thought was a really interesting project because I'd only known a little bit about it, even though I'm in America, about what had happened, how John DuPont had financed this wrestling team, even though he really knew very little about wrestling. But he was in some ways in competition with his mother, who was a professional equestrian. And it's fascinating the relationship he had with these two brothers, and played by Mark Ruffalo and Channing Tatum.
And I thought they were all almost unrecognizable.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were.
Because Channing Tatum is sort of, he can be a bit of a joker or an action hero, and he's did all the step-up movies, the dancer. But here he was very solid, very quiet, and it's very hard to tell what was going on, with his thoughts and the emotions.
No, I agree. I thought he got great performances from everybody, especially Steve Carell. Steve Carell was almost unrecognizable.
I had to do a double take, when the credits came up, it's like, is that really Steve Carell? Because
he totally immersed himself in the role. But this director Bennett Miller is known for that. He did the same thing with Capote, and his last film was also a very powerful, the actor gets lost in the role kind of movie. So, and that was Moneyball, and that got a lot of Oscar attention.
But I have to say, you say, obviously being from America, you didn't know much about it. So for someone from an international audience, I knew nothing about this story. And I felt it left me with more questions than answers. I actually now want to go and research it and Google it and find out more about John DuPont and more about this scandal. It's really shocking what happened.
Well, it's shocking what happens, and it's also, in some ways, I went to the press conference and they were asking the director a lot of, the themes, the underlying themes. And one of the underlying themes is just sort of a moral decay, and what happens when everything's for sale. No matter how talented you are, you could be bought for a certain price. And then what happens to that talent as a result of it being purchased? And
the corroding effect of money.
Exactly. And I thought that was an interesting undercurrent, especially because Steve Carell's character, again, takes a turn without giving away the movie. And you knew something was off, but you really didn't expect what you saw.
Now, filmmakers from around the world dream of having their film screened at the Cannes Festival. But with even more people entering the race, it's getting tougher for new talent to get noticed. Short films have always been a gateway into the business, and earlier I spoke to one young British director who's had his film screened at the festival this year.
I'm more confident in my work, but it's still nerve-wracking to see what people might come out with or say, because it's still a new audience, it's not the same people. So all that, and every year is different, and because the audience is different, the public is different, so you never know what you might get. There's always one that might not like the film, and on this instance, that was me. So I'm the worst enemy, shall we say. So overall, next time I'll make it even better.
You're your own worst critic. Tell us a bit about your show. What's the story?
The story is about a guy who's being tormented constantly from his wife, people around him, a bailiff played by my great friend Farhan Khan, and also the TV, basically, in the sense of he watches the news every day, he watches the TV, and everything is very negative, with job losses, issues in the media, issues in the parliament, and he's just absorbing that, and he feels he's safer in the house than outside.
So the main theme is really then paranoia and sort of fear of the outside world.
That is correct. And that's all exaggerated slightly. It doesn't mean all media is negative. It's just in this case, because he's a bit paranoid, he's taking all the negative and absorbing it like a sponge, and everything is just against him. But then, in a way, it is his own doing. So if you watch the film, you'll definitely know.
From the House of
Hello?
Commons.
Can I speak to Mr. or Mrs. Richards?
Mrs. Richards can't get to the phone right now. This is Mr. Richards.
My name is Tom. I'm calling from Ancient Debt Collectors.
Hi, Tom.
Now, you're a young filmmaker of South Asian descent, and how welcoming is Cannes to diverse young talent? Because people can think of it as being quite elitist and closed off.
For this year, surprisingly, last year we had the 100 years of Bollywood, so we had a lot of South Asians here. This year, surprisingly, as they say, I've met a lot of people from London and Leicester, and these guys are my neighbours. I've never met them there. I managed to meet them here. Like yourself, I meet you guys here more than in London, yet we're neighbours. But overall, it's been a good turnout, and we've got a lot of pavilions from South Asian descent. You've got the Bollywood guys, Eros guys. So overall, I don't see a difference. They've actually improved from last year.
And is screening a film at Cannes really, really different to, say, doing it in, London or in Berlin or Toronto? What do you think?
I mean, don't get me wrong, every screening is special in its own way. Cannes is prestigious, it's close to home, it's close to my heart. That's the beauty of Cannes. Screening in London that's where the family is, that's where I live, that's my home city. So that's a different experience. And then Berlin is just showing that there's recognition around the world for my film, and I'll be humbled to appreciate any other festival taking the film.
Now, we can't ignore the fact that you're looking very dapper in a tuxedo here. What's happening? What's the plan for tonight?
Tonight, well, I've got a date with, what's his name? Tommy Lee Jones.
Wow.
For the premiere, that is, not a physical date, guys. So we're going to see his premiere, and he's going to be there, so we're going to walk the red carpet. We're going to smooch, rub shoulders, and do the usual Cannes thing, which is enjoy. So work during the day, play in the evening.
I've noticed that about Cannes. It's really about networking. I mean, I think there is slightly more work than play. Do you agree?
Yes, there has to be work. I mean, people have paid a lot of money to be here, to set up their camp here. And at the end of the day, everyone's here to make a mark and excel in their industry, not just to come here, have fun, and then go home. It's not a holiday. Even though it might look like a holiday and the beautiful weather and the people, honestly, it's not a holiday. It's not a holiday.
The Cannes red carpet is one of the most famous rugs in the world, but it's not all fun and games and just a photo call. There's rules and regulations and traditions, as I've been finding out. Eva Longoria, Robert Pattinson, and Nicole Kidman, just some of the stars to grace the Cannes red carpet with their presence. Every day there's a movie premiere, and 2,300 invited guests make their way along the Rouge rug. And it's here at the end of the famous Croisette that one of the most iconic red carpet walks in the world starts. You can see the ladders behind me where hundreds of the world's press gather to get a picture of some of those famous faces and A-listers who fly into the French Riviera from the world. But it all culminates here. There's still more room for cameras. About 285 come here in total for the last final walk along the red carpet and up the 24 iconic steps at the Palais. It's the Super Bowl, the World Cup, the pinnacle of red carpets, and for that reason, it has its own set of rules. Dress code for men is black tie, strictly. Even a minor deviation like brown shoes could get you booted off. And for the ladies, only a clutch bag, a small one at that. When the stars reach the end of the red carpet, they must all walk up the first half of the stairs together. There, they meet the Cannes Film Festival president, Gilles Jacob, and festival director Thierry Frémaux. This is one of the most important moments in the red carpet run. And the last rule is, don't outshine the film. There are only 2 interview spots on the whole red carpet, one for Canal Plus and the other for the official Festival de Cannes TV. Save your sound bites about what you're wearing for the photo call. And one last thing, premieres at the official Festival de Cannes are always on time, so don't be late.
Well, Cannes wouldn't be a truly international film festival without representing the world's biggest movie industry, Bollywood. Now, Indian cinema has a global reputation for its elaborate song and dance numbers, and I caught up with one dance maestro who's even taught Madonna, Shakira and Britney Spears how to find their groove.
The dance is the soul of our films. Every movie is like a musical, and we are incomplete without our dance routines.
And Bollywood's become really global. I mean, you see it everywhere. My gym has Bollywood dance classes.
Well, yes, I think Bollywood is everywhere. You see stage shows, TV shows, you said fitness classes, films. You just think Bollywood and it's happening everywhere now. And I think that is what says that we have reached everybody's hearts.
You've arrived.
Not really arrived, but I think we have captured people's hearts. I think that's important.
Now, Bollywood's sort of defined by those huge dance numbers, and they're really quite athletic. So,
yes, they
how
are.
much fitness do you require, and how long does it take to think of, planning the dance sequence for one song in a movie?
Movie-wise, I would say yes, the artists need to be fit because it has to be picture perfect in terms of dancing. But if you're talking about otherwise, if you want to do it yourself as a person, I don't think you need to be physically fit. Anybody can do Bollywood dancing, it's very simple. As a choreographer, what we need to do is we talk to the directors, we get to know exactly how the director's vision is, how he wants to portray the song, and then we plan some signature steps, typical movement of Bollywood dancing, which is a mix between different dance forms, and we make a little choreography, we teach it to the artists do it well, and then the world follows it.
But how many months? Are we talking months, or was it weeks, or even longer?
It depends, to be honest. It depends. I would say a couple of days for sure for us to plan the choreography, about a week for us to teach the artist, and then about 4 or 5 days, maybe even more, to shoot the song. depending on how large we need to present the song as.
Okay, so it's quite time intensive.
It is, because I think sometimes in Bollywood films they put in more money into just one song and then maybe the whole project of the film. So and they bring in special actresses to do that song for the film, and the picturization, the location, everything. There's so much money spent on it, so it better be good.
And it's not just Indian cinema you work in. You've taught Madonna and Britney Spears, I believe.
Yes, I've been fortunate enough to do that.
What was it like? What was, Madonna, she's known for being quite demanding, quite difficult, has quite high standards of herself and her crew.
I would say that that's a wrong impression about her.
Really?
She's a wonderful, wonderful person. And I think if she's demanding, she should be, because she wants a good standard. So I think she's being very professional. And the way she is, I think she can give all the young artists a run for the money, because she is extremely dedicated, extremely professional, extremely superb at her work. And I think that's where she is, where she is.
And what moves would you recommend? Say, we've got a small area here. If someone who's a bit, wants to get into Bollywood but is kind of shy, a few simple moves. Can you demonstrate some for us?
I can. It's very simple. I think it's about the attitude. So I'll just show you something. One this side, one that side. Turn around, because we are around the world. And we will rock it, and rock it, and rock it.
Now, movie deals may not get the same attention as the red carpet and premieres, but it's one of the most important reasons to hold the festival. And this year, China has really been trying to assert itself here at Cannes. You don't have to look very far to realise that Cannes is as much about deal-making as star-studded premieres. During the film festival, nearly every surface and space in town is used to advertise a new blockbuster, months before the actual release date. Studios hoping to cash in on the buzz and press attention spend a fortune on extravagant gimmicks and photo opportunities. Even the busy Croisette was brought to a complete standstill when the cast of The Expendables 3 turned up in military tanks one afternoon. But despite the bold marketing, movie executives are battling declining box office revenues and competition from TV and video on demand.
Even for the blockbusters, the huge big movies are not performing as well as supposed to be performing. Even, I would say, for movies like Despicable Me 2, even giving good figures and being a good blockbuster is not performing as 5 years ago Harry Potter. So this is a normal trend. That's why being in a risky business is not as easy to raise financing for the big productions.
Faced with less than enthusiastic audiences at home, American and European companies are now searching for the next market to tap into. And the direction they're looking is east.
In the market of China, they have more than 1,000 TV channels. It's like, being Spanish myself, this is absolutely a crazy figure. Of course, they have a huge population, but they have more than 1,000 TV channels. It means, think about it, 24 hours broadcasting. They need a lot of programming.
But it isn't just about importing Western content. Established and emerging film industries, from Algeria to South Korea, have made sure they have a strong presence at Cannes. China is one country that's trying to assert itself as an increasingly influential player at the festival. This year, Beijing co-sponsored the Cannes Marché opening night party. Dozens of Chinese sales agents and producers have been in meetings to pitch their movies to foreign buyers. It comes after China saw a 27% increase in box office takings last year, hitting $3.5 billion. It's a growing sum of money that for many here in Cannes is just too lucrative to ignore. This has been an Arise News Special from here, the 67th Cannes Film Festival. We've taken you behind the scenes, given you access to the stars, and shown you around this beautiful French town.
And we've gone above and beyond to give those actors and filmmakers who wouldn't normally have a voice a chance to speak. But sadly, that's all we've got time for. I've got to say goodbye. I'm Jason Mansoray.
I'm Sarah Hemrajani.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.